Toroni.
T-O-R-O-N-E.
Enthameme.
E-N-T-H-Y-M-E.
And Ishan Gupta.
Tesseraconter.
Tessaraconter.
Shrey, during the spell-off, you correctly spelled a total of 32 words. Ishan, you correctly spelled a total of 25 words, and that means that Shrey, you are the 2000.
Shrey wins $52,500 in cash, a trophy, and a package of prizes.
More on this story at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunnier for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low near 57. By Saturday, partial sunshine develops a high around 75 degrees. And Sunday, partial sunshine, a high around 78. Monday, sunny high of 81 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 54.
1 in 10 people age 50 and older in the U.S. have early age-related macular degeneration.
Because macular degeneration often has no early symptoms, many don't know they have it until irreversible vision loss has already occurred. Well, when I first found out that I had macular degeneration, it was really scary. I mean, my eyes are my living.
What's most important for me to see? My family, my loved ones, my pickleball game. Everything I do is dependent upon my vision.
Being able to see, be able to spend time with my children, be able to travel is extremely important. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have my vision. Don't miss life's most beautiful moments.
Schedule a comprehensive eye exam to protect your sight.
Macular Degeneration Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Go to stopamd.org to learn more.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Friday morning, progressives and all the rest. Welcome to the May 29th, golly, we got here, 2026 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is the number. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube, and also broadcasting on AM 950 in Minneapolis, AM 1520 and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Got a few emails to get back with you guys on, so I will get to that. Follow me on all of the socials, of course, and catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other great shows and interviews, and make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. We have a busy morning today, so I am going to be as efficient as I possibly can. Over at Heartland right now, some of the articles that you guys will appreciate. On a conservative podcast, Minnesota GOP Governor hopeful Lisa DeMuth says paid family leave is bad for businesses and daily life. Wow. So what did she do? Did she just turn everything over to like a nanny or something? Not that I'm not dogging nannies. I'm just saying, really, paid family leave? And this, but I bet you, Henry, she's going to show up in church on Sunday saying that the family is the most important thing and we should honor God. But doing something that would actually, in the least among us, phrasing from Jesus, she's against. Bad for business and bad in daily life. That's in quotes. Senator Dick Durbin ends his farewell speech in the Illinois General Assembly with a warning that the upcoming midterms may be, quote, challenged in ways we have never seen before in our history. So prepare ourselves. That's something you'll find at Heartland Signal and many other great pieces that we've got there this particular day, this particular week. Our team over there, as always, is doing great work. So make your way over and catch some of the other great articles and pieces that we have there. On today's show, and I'm going to, like I said, kind of keep it tight. We've got a busy morning. With us this morning is Mayor John Laesch, who is the mayor of Aurora, Illinois. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the data centers and what's happening with the Illinois General Assembly and some other points that are important there. U.S. Representative Cleo Fields from Louisiana will be with us also, actually in the 6:45 segment of the next half hour, to talk a little bit about most recent determinations, if you want to call it that, or rulings from the Supreme Court. I'm going to say the scary six, not the entire Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court. So Representative Fields will be with us. And then Karen Byrne, our good friend from TruBlu Politics Podcast, will be giving us a holler around 7 o'clock, and we'll chat for a little bit with her about what's going on and a couple items that I wanted to tease her with. And then at 7:30, Professor Kevin Schultz, who's written the book, Everybody Hates White Liberals, Including White Liberals, will be with me to talk about obviously what's happening with voting registration and some historical perspectives there. So looking forward to having each of them with us this morning to bring us up to speed in the areas that they profess in. And so I want to get to a couple quick things real fast so we can keep it moving and take a little bit of an early break this morning. Our question of the day is one that, I don't know, people might call this a little risque question, but it's not meant to be risque other than it's meant to be practical about where we are right now. So on this Friday, our question of the day is, we all know we want Donald Trump to go, to be gone. And I don't mean that in any way other than politically gone. I'm not stepping in that other, conversation. We want him to be gone and done. Some people want to see him perp walked and in handcuffs and all the rest. And then that day may come, but the other one most certainly will come. Politically, he will be out of the conversation as a candidate. But my question is this: what other Republican politician is at the top of your list that you want to see gone politically, out of everybody's mouth, no one else, not to ever really be discussed and talked about again? What other top Republican politician, or what other Republican politician that is, at the top of the conversation or the top of your list that you want to be gone the most? So Donald's gone. Who else do you want to see gone that's a Republican politician? Let us know who that is. If you had, your wish list, and let me set a date on. Let's just say, I got to set a date. Let's just say right now, out of politics right now, other Republican politician. We want to see Donald gone right now. So let's see who that other Republican politician is you want gone right now. And I don't mean any way other than politically gone. Let us know by sending me a text, or you can give us a call at 773-763-9278. And by all means, go to our Facebook page and leave your comments there so that we know what you're thinking. I've done this the past 2 days, and I'm going to do it again today. 202-224-2321 is the Washington office number for Senator John Thune, who is the Senate Majority Leader. Call his office and tell him to do his job. 202-225-2777 is the phone number in Washington for Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives. Call his office and tell him and his people, tell his people who pick up, tell Speaker Johnson to do his job. Do that, guys. That's why I'm putting the numbers out the past couple of days. Let them know, go do your jobs. We're tired of you running around, running cover for Donald Trump. It's way past time, and the country is hurting for it. This is something that they should be leading their respective chambers and the members of those chambers to do the right thing right now. I don't know if you guys saw this video that's circulating around on social media of Trump outside of the White House, standing by a couple of the pillars, looking like he was lost. And then there's audio that's played that sounds like he's having some serious flatulence issues right there in front of everybody. So the audio is pretty crazy. All right. Let's take a quick break. Maybe we'll grab a couple calls when we come back from this break. Some people are already letting us know who they want to see gone. Give us a call, 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and a drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
People don't realize that glaucoma is one of the leading causes of blindness.
Because there are often no early symptoms, nearly half of those with glaucoma may not even know they have it until vision loss has occurred.
I was diagnosed with normal tension glaucoma in July of 2020. And what we found out at that point was I had already lost 40% of my sight. And you think it only affects people that are, 75 or older, retired, grandparents, and that's not the reality of it.
I didn't think at all glaucoma was going to affect me because I didn't know of anyone that had glaucoma, no one in my family. When you have glaucoma, you can't get back that sight that you lost. And so early detection and treatment is vitally, vitally important.
Don't miss life's most beautiful moments. Schedule an eye exam today.
National Glaucoma Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Learn how to protect your sight at stopglaucoma.org.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Don't hit that snooze button. It's time for Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Listen, next Monday, which is June 1st, figured we'd do something a little different than we've been doing, but we're going to take calls for the majority of the show on Monday. We kind of, it's the first day of the month, so it just happens to be Monday. So we'll grab your call. So get yourself ready over the weekend. We have one guest, and the rest of the time we're going to take your calls, and we may even weave that into the calls, weave the guests in with the calls. So make sure that you are prepared with all that's on your mind, all you've been sitting on, to say, Richard, why aren't you talking about this? Or Richard, here's what I want to talk about, whatever the case may be. And we'll have a good question for the day. But I can already see you guys are really hitting this pretty quickly with your response to who do you want to see as the other Republican that's gone. Like if you could snap your fingers like Thanos. And I don't mean gone, but like politically gone. So there you go. But let's hit them with a couple of quick Choose Views news items on this Friday, May 29, 2026. Grocery prices in the U.S. face new inflation pressures. Grocery prices are set to rise again due to a range of factors, including adverse weather, tariffs, and the ongoing Iran war, according to Bloomberg. Experts predict inflation rates could reach between 4 and 4.5%, exacerbating affordability issues for consumers. Drought conditions are also impacting crop yields, particularly in key agricultural regions, while rising household debt and declining real earnings add to the financial strain. CVS is to start covering Zepbound and Foundayo, the obesity drugs. CVS Health will begin covering them as soon as this fall, the company announced yesterday. For the last year or so, Wegovy, made by Eli Lilly rival Novo Nordisk, has been CVS's preferred obesity treatment under the terms of a deal between the two. CVS's decision to cover Zepbound again may help Lilly keep its edge in the exploding GLP-1 market. The traffic through the Straits of Hormuz once again has stalled. Oil prices rose and traffic through the Straits returned to virtual standstill yesterday after Iran said it had attacked a U.S. military base in a continued test of fragile peace talks. The August futures for Brent crude, the global benchmark, climbed about 2% to $94 a barrel. The hike came after only 2 ships were observed transiting the vital strait that controls 20% of the world's oil supply. Caesars Entertainment will be sold to Farida for $5.7 billion. They announced this yesterday that it will be acquiring Farida Entertainment, an all-cash deal worth $5.7 billion. The agreement unites 2 hospitality and gaming giants, combining Farida's Golden Nuggets properties with the 52 casinos operated by Caesars. That's going to once again create a consolidation of big businesses. And last but not least, the U.S. new car market shed 1 million prospective buyers since 2020. 1 million potential buyers have ditched their new car market, have ditched the new car market since 2020. Over 1 million. In fact, Americans are proving hesitant to splurge against gas prices, interest rates, and inflation, which all remain stubbornly elevated. General Motors and Ford are just 2 of the major 3 automakers who are expecting their sales to fall or flatline for the rest of this year. Industry experts say it could be 2030 or later before new car sales climb back to their 2020 levels, a situation that the Volvo CEO Eric Servitson says is a real threat to the whole industry. So there you go, guys. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this Friday, May 2026. Henry, let's grab a quick call. Let's see who we got. Is it Andrea or Andrea? Andrea.
Yes.
Hey,
hi.
good morning. Welcome to Choose Views. How are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. You have an answer, or you have a person on your list.
I sure do. It's Mike Johnson.
Ah, okay. Tell us why.
First of all, he came with such deception as if he was a follower of Christ. He is not. He is only there to do the explicit bidding of Donald Trump. He stopped progress at all measures. Nothing has been done. We're paying politicians to do nothing. They're not doing their jobs. They're never in session. Nothing has been passed. Nothing is being done.
Yeah.
And it's all his fault.
You know, Andrea, first of all, thank you for your call and your contribution. And the reason that I asked the question is because I know that a lot of people are hugely frustrated with Donald Trump. But as I've been saying, and I know you probably have heard this, and you probably have your own powers of belief in this space, you can only blame Donald Trump for so long when the Republicans have both chambers of Congress. At some point, they've got to do their job, and they're not doing their job right now. There's no question about that. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Those are my thoughts exactly. They are there to make laws, to write legislation, put it through for the American people. But none of that is getting done. He's only there to literally to stop good legislation, if any is being presented, and then to promote whatever bidding Donald Trump wants him to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you're probably you're not gonna be on an island this morning, Andrea, in your sentiments about who you want to see as the next Republican politician to be be removed from the political conversation in an instant. So, thank you.
He's actually worse than the other gentleman that was there. I can't think of his name. The other Republican. He's much worse.
You mean
Mike Johnson.
Kevin McCarthy? Is that who you're thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He is. He is in modern lifetime for me. He's a worse. He is at the top of the list of awful get nothing done speakers. And I mean that. He has just been awful without a doubt. One of our engineers here said that Andrea is our gold star caller for today. How about that?
Oh, wow. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the call. I'm glad we put a smile on your face and keep in the fight. You know how to find us, Andrea. Have a great rest of the day, okay?
Thank you. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, she is, Mike. She's definitely a gold star. Let's see what we got. Wow, I don't know if we're going to get through all these before the break. We had a number of people who responded in terms of text. Let me see if I can get through a couple quick ones. Let's see. My obvious choice would be Lindsey Graham. Wow. Wow. Okay. This is coming from some Arissa in South Carolina. He is the worst. I won't use the word she used, but I will say this. She says that he's spineless. Wow. This is another one that she said, John Fetterman may as well be a Republican, so he can go too. Ooh, Rissa's a little fiery and spicy this morning. Wow. Let's see who else we can. Not even close. This was another one from. This is from Dave and Darian. Not even close. Mike Johnson, who I despise equally, if not more, than the Orange Maniac. Right on, Dave. We appreciate that comment. Let's see. Let's move on a little bit. Let's see. Jill. Ooh, this is a good one. This is a surprise. Jill says all 6 Supreme Court justices, the conservative Supreme Court justices. Wow. There you go. There you go, Jill. That's a. I didn't even think about that. Okay, all who are enabling DJT. I would agree there. Let's try to get another one in too before I get some things covered. This is another that says the SCOTUS. The 6 sinister SCOTUS. Wow. As ideological and activist as they are, yeah. Good point. 773. And who else do we have here? Okay, let's see. Okay, I could. This is saying that the other Republican I could remove would be the head of the Republican Party, Putin. Wow, you guys are good. See, I've said this many times before. We have a great bench of folks running for office. We have a great bench of people, a great team of people in office, where we get. Where we sometimes don't give them enough credit. And I know that we have to be, critical and reminding and push them and all that. But you guys are pretty doggone great, too. You got to remember that. We got a great bench of listeners and folks all over the country that are part of this conversation. So kudos to you guys. I guess we're giving out gold stars. I don't want to frustrate anybody, but I guess maybe all of our listeners should get at least some sort of star, Mike. All right. We can give them out. I mean, Mike's the one that's allocating the gold stars. So don't put that on me. I'm reviewing what Mike said to me. So Andrea gets the first gold star, and we'll also we'll pass out a few others to you guys. All right, I got to cover this before we go to the break as quickly as I can. I got to talk about this. Pam Bondi was hit with an ethics complaint signed by more than 100 judges and lawyers. She was abruptly dismissed after, this craziness that we saw, that awful display. A strong group of over 120 judges, law professors, and lawyers, led by retired Florida Supreme Court Justice Peggy Quince, have submitted a serious ethics complaint against Bondi to the Florida bar, urging that she be investigated and possibly disbarred. This is the second attempt. The first one was turned down while she was still in office. Now that Trump has let her go, the complaint is back and quite damaging. The complaint focuses on Bondi's poor handling of the Jeffrey Epstein documents, claiming that she mishandled the releases so severely that victims' names, birth dates, and even nude photos were made public. Lawyers representing the survivors called one release the single most egregious violation of victim privacy in one day in the United States history. Okay. You heard me talk about this yesterday, that the Justice Department is now seemingly investigating a combination of sources. E. Jean Carroll, who won twice against Donald Trump. The Justice Department is now trying to settle a score, basically, no matter how you look at it. But they're trying to say that they're not investigating her, but they're investigating Reid Hoffman, who was in some ways involved, and it hasn't been fully vetted out yet, in her defense in terms of money that not money that she received, but support that she received through his nonprofit that's here in Illinois. And if you know, he's part of the LinkedIn family. He's a strong Democratic supporter, and the list goes on. But here's the crazy sort of dotted line to all of this. The person that is that's leading the investigation, let's just deal with this from a jurisdictional standpoint. Reid Hoffman is in Palo Alto area, California. E. Jean Carroll's in New York. But this case is coming through the Illinois Northern District in terms of the U.S. Attorney's Office. Why is that? They're saying it's because the charity is here in Illinois. It's also because Andrew Boutros, who is the U.S. attorney that's the one that's filing these and looking into this this investigation or creating this investigation, is a Bondi sworn in United States District Attorney. Something funky's in this one, guys. Trust me on this. There's something going on here. And I'm going to stay on top of this as best I can and keep you guys informed. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we'll be talking with Aurora Mayor John Laesch. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. On March 25th, 1911, in Manhattan, a fire at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory killed 146 workers, who were mostly women. The victims of the fire were unable to leave the burning high-rise building due to the exits being locked and were forced to leap to their deaths from the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors. Locking doors was a common practice to reduce theft and unauthorized breaks at workplaces. As a result of the fire, the New York State Legislature formed the Factory Investigating Commission, whose findings led to 38 new laws regulating labor. Some of the new laws mandated better egress, the installation of better alarm and sprinkler systems, and increased availability of fire extinguishers. Coincidentally, the American Society of Safety Professionals was formed, which now manages, researches, and consults occupational safety and health across 75 countries. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go, but I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there, providing hot meals, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn.
Chicago's Progressive Talk WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Find rebates and discounts on energy-efficient products at ComEd.com/home savings.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low near 57. By Saturday, partial sunshine develops a high around 75 degrees. And Sunday, partial sunshine, a high around 78. Monday, sunny high of 81 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 54.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is Choose Views, and I'm Richard Chu. Second largest city in Illinois and one of the fastest growing in America is Aurora, Illinois. And our good friend Mayor John Laesch is with us this morning to talk a quick bit about what's happening in terms of guardrails that need to be in place for data centers. Good morning, Mayor Laesch, and welcome back to Choose Views.
Morning, Richard. How's it going?
Mayor, I'm doing good, sir. I'm hanging in there just like you. I got my dukes up, as my pop used to say, and staying in the fight, just like you, sir, just like you.
That's what's going on here.
I know, I hear you. Listen, I know you got a tight morning, but hit us real quickly with what's going on with this rally that you're going to be one of the key voices at this weekend.
Well, I'm one of the 500 people that'll be traveling to Springfield tomorrow, Saturday, to participate in a rally and then go and talk to all of our state legislators about the need for the Illinois Power Act. This is going to be one of the most important pieces of legislation that goes through, I believe, in either this year or veto session to better regulate data centers. And the key piece is about energy requirements and requiring any new data centers to use 100% renewable power. So happy to talk a little bit more about the bill or things we've done here in Aurora to put our own guardrails in place. Aurora, in March of this year, adopted the most stringent data center regulations of any municipality in the state of Illinois, and perhaps some of the most strict in the entire United States.
You know, here's the thing about the data centers. I think that we as Democrats should, if we haven't done this, if we've done this and we don't know about it, that's an issue. But it's something that I'm going to just be positive about. We should have a commission that's organized by Democrats, whether it be governors of different states, whether it be AGs and secretaries of state, maybe those three top officials per state, and the heads of each of the chambers where we hold the House and or the Senate. A commission, a study, a group, whatever we want to call it, to talk publicly about data centers. Because every person that I've had on the show in the last 6 months where we talked about data centers has said essentially the same thing that you're going to bring to us in a moment. The next gentleman that's going to be on, Cleo Fields, is a U.S. representative out of Louisiana. General Honoré from Louisiana and his Green Army, they're all talking about the same thing, Mayor. These data centers, if we're going to have them, we've got to restrict them. And we've got to, many are saying we shouldn't have them, not to the extent that we are. And where we have them is as big of a problem because in many cases they're going into areas that are going to further deplete water resources in communities that have already suffered some environmental harm. I know I threw a lot at you, but talk to us for a moment about that.
Sure. So the idea of a commission's a good one. We did have some hearings earlier this year after we passed our regulations. I was one of the mayors who traveled to Springfield to participate in hearings held by Leader Ann Williams, who's sort of leading the charge here on the Illinois Power Act. The greatest concern that I see is going to be energy consumption. ComEd, which operates the northern Illinois energy grid, is predicting, well, first of all, they use right now about 26 gigawatts of power. That's what we're currently producing and using. That includes 6 nuclear plants in overall 11 nuclear reactors, an assortment of wind, natural gas, solar. Their entire power portfolio is 26 gigawatts of power. The projection is that over the next 3 years, that number is going to more than double. They're going to need 30 new gigawatts of power. And so the concern is, where's that energy coming from? And what the Illinois Power Act says, that has to be renewable energy. The concern, of course, is that after passing CEJA and the Clean and Equitable Jobs Act that required the closure of coal plants in Illinois, the closure of natural gas plants and fossil fuels, is that those energy sources will be left online just to power data centers. And ComEd's own study shows that by 2029, our energy grid could be facing brownouts just because of this new demand. So this is a very real problem that lawmakers are going to have to deal with. And, we've put some guardrails in place in Aurora, but we need to make sure that these guardrails run across the state and then start to be adopted everywhere in the United States. So they're not pitting communities against each other, but instead that we're working together to control and regulate the standards that we expect, not just with energy, but water as well.
So let's go back to something you said about the consumption of energy. And what popped into my mind when you said this, and it wasn't a question that I had prepared, but what information do you have? What data do you have that equates the amount of energy used in a data center of a certain size to a 50-story building in a community, and 50 may be too big of a building, but 1 million square foot data center compared to 1 million square foot office building. What are some of the data points that you may have seen or become aware of?
I don't have an answer or an adequate comparison. I haven't looked at it from that perspective, and I don't want to provide your listeners with erroneous information. So I don't know that I'm prepared to answer that question.
And honestly, it popped into my head.
Gigawatts of power versus yeah. I'll just go. It's going to be a lot. I think on the ComEd fact sheet, they had equated that to something like 600 warehouses, but I would have to go back and look at that to make sure the demand coming in 1 year or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of energy. These things get very hot and need to be cooled down. And so, you had mentioned the water. There's water cooling systems, both closed loop and evaporative systems. The evaporative systems are the most dangerous to our water system, but they're using so much energy that they need to be cooled, and that cooling effect is also demanding a lot of energy.
Well, and that's the part there, the cooling effect, or the cooling part, the cooling necessities, maybe the word I'm looking for, that has to take place, is where we then have the bigger from what I've read, the bigger environmental issues, because the gas that's then emitted in that cooling process, as I've read, is where we then start to have the issue with air quality. And so I don't know how much, that part about, but that's really, for me, where as much as the utilization of water, but also what gas is going to be put into the environment post that energy creation. You see what I'm saying?
Well, there's 3 ways that I'm aware of to cool it. It's just like any other, like a nuclear power plant. You can cool it in many ways. Most of those are water cooled. But the data centers are typically either a closed loop cooling system that would work similar to the radiator in your car to keep your car engine cool. The open evaporative system is the one that consumes the most water. We ban these here in the city of Aurora. just to preserve and protect people's access to water. And then the third method is through a fan cooling system. And I'm not sure of any gases that are released unless they're running diesel generators to keep those fans cooling. But for sure, the fan system is in Aurora anyway is creating a lot of noise in the community that is adjacent to the data centers. And it's not just Aurora. I think it's Loudoun is data center central, where they've got over 100 data centers, and the residents there have said it's just this constant low hum. Noise protection is another concern with the fan cooling systems, and we added and reduced the level of the number of decibels that we would allow that fan cooling system to operate at, just to protect the residents. The existing data center that was causing problems here entered into a legal agreement to wrap their fan cooling system on the top of their building with some screening to better protect the neighbors, but it isn't enough, to be quite honest. But I would say that the diesel generators, should they kick in, both, that's going to be a climate problem as well as releasing PM 2.5 into the air and creating pollution. So that would probably be the greatest threat to air quality should those generators be kicked into action. And again, if you start seeing brownouts because of the energy shortage, then it's more likely that those generators will be up and running.
Well, and then the other part about this too is kind of a last comment, because I know you've got a busy morning. The last the generator piece and the brownout piece. What concerns me, and I'm sure many people as well, is at what point do they start to be not just a drain, but if they start to break down and they're not properly doing their part in the cooling process, then what kind of accidents do we have? And when we talk about when the word nuclear gets in the conversation, I'm old enough to very, very clearly remember 3 Mile Island and then everything that's happened going forward and Chernobyl. So I worry that if power runs out, we have a brownout, power runs out, the diesels are not working, we're just wash, rinsing, and repeating a bigger problem. I know, again, I threw a lot at you because this is such a complicated concern that we all have right now.
Sure. Yeah, and one of the solutions we called for, certainly micronuclear power for these data centers is being discussed. There is a pilot 15 kilowatt or 15 megawatt, 15 megawatt pilot being put together down in Champaign-Urbana, but they're not going to come online fast enough to address the immediate energy requirement that's necessary right now. But certainly, as they look at putting these micronuclear reactors across the state of Illinois to power data centers, there are certain safety concerns that communities are going to raise, especially a landlocked municipality like the city of Aurora.
Yeah. So, Mayor, I know you got to run, and then you got this big event that's taking place tomorrow outside the Capitol building, and we wish you a tremendous amount of success. Maybe we can chat sometime next week for a little bit to tell us some of the results or some of the conversations that you had while there in Springfield. If we can figure out a way to get you back on next week, let's do that, because I'd really like to hear, and I know our listeners would like to hear, not just here in Illinois, but throughout the country, what were some of the results of the rally. Would you be willing to do that?
Would love to do that. Thanks for your time today, Richard.
Let's do that. We'll get it put together behind the scenes. Be careful in your travels. Be safe, and we wish you a lot of success, and we'll talk to you next week again, okay?
You bet. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye now. All right, guys, quick break. 773-763-9278 is our number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. When we come back, U.S. Representative Cleo Fields out of Louisiana will be with us. We'll be right back.
summer would feel better in a Porsche. Find yours today at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Browse and test drive our extensive selection, like the 2026 Porsche Macan Electric. Right now, lease the 2026 Macan Electric for only $1049 a month for 39 months. Discover performance like no other when you visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. $9,999 due. Signing for qualified buyers. Excludes tax, title, license, and dealer fee. No security deposit required. Expires 6/1/26.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months.
When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
I thought it was just stress. But then it felt like I was stuck in a state of panic, obsessed with worry that something bad would happen if I didn't complete endless rituals. I couldn't solve this on my own. So I made the call. I found a doctor who diagnosed me with OCD. Now I'm able to live more in the present.
Mental health care works when you make the call. Visit mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Mike's on, truth's out. This is Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is Choose Views if you're just tuning in, and I'm Richard Chew. Fair representation is under attack. Many of the hard-fought gains that many people have bled and died for are being threatened as efforts continue to weaken voters' protections and silence our voices. That is a quote from U.S. Representative from Louisiana, Cleo Fields. Good morning, Representative Fields. Congressman, thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you for taking a few minutes with us this morning. I'll just come right out and say we have to have you back on for a longer stretch of time. I know we've got a short amount of time this morning to chat with you, but you've been at the forefront, sir, of the conversation about the legal battles in terms of the landscape that's shifted in Louisiana's congressional map, along with other places in the country. Talk with us, share with us some of the things that you, as an attorney, and of course a member of Congress, have kind of put your foot down and said, we've got to fight these with the federal lawsuits, that whatever we have in our arsenal.
Yeah, no question about it. Back in the 92, we created a second congressional majority black district in Louisiana. We used subsection 5, quite frankly, of the Voting Rights Act. And then in 24, we created, a second black district. And both were under attack in the Supreme Court by folk who didn't feel that the district was needed. And, recently the Supreme Court ruled that the district was unconstitutional, and we used subsection 2 this time. And so basically the Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act. I mean, it has no useful value at all to people. And the Louisiana legislature on yesterday, the House of Representatives passed a plan, the same plan that the Senate passed, that basically eliminates the second majority black district.
And it keeps happening throughout the country. And this sounds like a rhetorical question, or one that doesn't need to be even asked, certainly not answered. And that is, what is it that you believe? And you and I are of similar age, so we've seen through our lifetime as young men, as young adults, as older men, if you will, we've seen these attacks since we were young kids in the 60s on voting rights, on civil rights, on access to the levers of power. But at its core, why do you think that state courts, Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court is moving in this direction? And what is it that you honestly think is the reason?
Well, I think it's a dog whistle from the president. His first executive order was to do away with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I think that sent a whistle across America. And also, and the Supreme Court heard it, and that's why 6 justices basically just decided to gut the Voting Rights Act. It's a difficult time, but I tell people all the time, we can't retreat. We have to fight harder. We have to, more people need to register to vote, and then people need to actually exercise that vote on Election Day. And here in Louisiana, we make up a third of the population.
Yeah.
And which means that we have to be more engaged. We have to elect more legislators. We have to elect more members of Congress, more, statewide office holders. And the only way we do that is by exercising that right to vote. Look, we've had hard times before, and particularly Louisiana. Louisiana is like the ground zero for the obstruction of civil rights. It all started, back, Plessy v. Board of Education. Plessy v. Ferguson. When they basically, said separate and unequal, really, was constitutional. That was a ruling of the Supreme Court. And then they overturned it with Brown v. Board of Education. So, we just have to be forever, mindful of the fact that, these rights that we have to fight for them every single day. Yeah. And I think people in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, are doing just that. People are now motivated. People are now going and they're voting, and they need to continue to vote and hold these legislators accountable for their actions.
Jeff Landry has proposed reallocating a significant amount, I think it's $140 or $50 million from K through 12 programs. Talk a little bit about that, because you've also served in as part of the House Financial Services Committee, if I have things right. But talk about how that in Louisiana is impacting education there, and it's being steered away from our same black communities and other communities of color.
Yeah, teachers in Louisiana has always deserved the pay raise. They had an issue on the ballot, basically taking money from programs and giving teachers a pay raise. When I was in the legislature, I fought so hard with other members of the Democratic Party to actually make pay raises permanent. We're in this position today because we refused to make the pay raise permanent. We gave them what we call a stipend, where we gave them $2,000, teachers and in support personnel $1,500 on an annual basis. And then every year the legislature has to vote to extend it. And this year they didn't have the money, and so the Constitution Amendment failed. And now the governor is saying we don't have to pay these teachers. But at first, the attitude was we don't have the money for the teachers. We got to go into this fund in order to pay the teachers this stipend. Had they done it the way it should have been done in the first place, we wouldn't be having these debates. Teachers can't buy bread or milk cheaper. Teachers have to pay the same for gasoline that we pay for gasoline. And it's just unfortunate that teachers have to go every session to the legislature to beg for a stipend, which is not a permanent pay raise. And that's what the debate is about. The governor has said that he's going to cut other programs to make sure that the teachers get their stipend. But they ought to just make the money permanent and not have that fight every year.
Yeah, that's a sentiment representative throughout the country, whether we're in a blue state or in a red state. It's if we pay our teachers a lot more, not a little bit more, but pay them a lot more, how much better would that affect our national defense and our national health and all the rest? Representative, I would love to have you back again when we've got a little bit more time to talk about this issue of redistricting, not just in Louisiana, but throughout the country, and then how your race is going. You've you were part of the House of Representatives. You've been in Congress. You've been around the block. You know what's happening out there. And if I'm correct, this is you're running or going into your third term, or this will be your fourth term. Is that which of the two is it?
Yeah, this would be my fourth term. I served for 2 terms back from 92 to 97.
Right.
And I just started this new term this last year, and be running for the second term of my second venture in Congress.
Fantastic. Representative, we appreciate you being with us. Love to have you back again and talk more about this big concern. It's not just a state concern anymore. It's a national concern, and the work that you're doing to lean into that. But thank you for taking some time to hang out with us a little bit this morning.
All right. Thank you very much.
We'll talk with you soon.
Care.
All right. Have a good weekend. Bye now. Okay, guys, we got to hit this break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, they like hanging out with us too. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we'll be talking with our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. We'll be right back.
Got better things to do this summer than deal with old appliances. That's why right now at Lowe's, you can still get in on Memorial Day savings and get up to 45% off select major appliances. Plus, get up to an additional 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. It's time to upgrade what's outdated. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 6/3. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
I always had to be so good, no one could ignore me. Carve my path with data and drive. But some people only see who I am on paper. The paper ceiling, the limitations from degree screens to stereotypes that are holding back over 70 million stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes, rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time for skills to speak for themselves. Find resources for breaking through barriers at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Former Attorney General Pam Bondi will appear today before House lawmakers investigating Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse cases. She's expected to face questions on how she oversaw the botched release of the Epstein case files. U.S. and Iranian negotiators reached a tentative agreement to extend the ceasefire by 60 days. A U.S. official also told the AP there will be new talks on Iran's nuclear program. Iran did not immediately confirm any deal. Vice President J.D. Vance confirmed there was a tentative agreement, but it's unclear if President Trump will approve it. A court in Kenya has suspended a U.S. plan for an Ebola quarantine facility for Americans. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
The suspension of the American plan to set up a quarantine facility for Americans for a rare type of Ebola virus follows a backlash by medical workers and activists. A Trump administration official had said on Wednesday the U.S. was planning to send Americans who are exposed to Ebola while abroad to this new facility in Kenya instead of flying them home. It's unclear where in Kenya the new facility will be built or whether the Kenyan government has signed off on the plan. Nairobi only revealing discussions with the US on support for Ebola preparedness generally. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said Washington intends to commit $13.5 million toward Kenya's Ebola plans.
Guatemalan President Bernardo Arévalo has denied that there is an agreement with the U.S. for anti-drug trafficking operations in Guatemala. The comments come after the New York Times reported that the Central American nation agreed to carry out joint strikes. Arévalo clarified there is only a request within existing agreements and emphasized that any collaboration aligns with Guatemalan law. This is AP News. This song by Lincoln Jesser is tuned to 432 hertz. And so is Ziggy Marley's True to Myself.
Life has come a long way.
While 440 hertz is considered the international standard for tuning instruments, some listeners prefer the lower pitch of 432 and call it the sweet spot. It helps Jocelyn Sanchez relax.
That's like my elevator music.
Some claim 432 hertz is aligned with nature or can help reduce blood pressure and heart rates. So far, there's no robust scientific evidence. For Sanchez, it's less about science and more about how it makes her feel.
It could activate different feelings in people, like the vibrations of it.
More on this story at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunnier for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low near 57. By Saturday, partial sunshine develops a high around 75 degrees. And Sunday, partial sunshine, a high around 78. Monday, sunny high of 81 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 55. That's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd, powering lives.
After my wife died, I lost myself too. I didn't feel like doing anything or seeing anyone. Then my granddaughter called to say she misses me, and I realized I had to make a change. That's when I made the call. I got referred to a psychiatrist, and she explained depression can happen to anyone. I'm learning that getting help doesn't make me weak. It makes me stronger. Mental health care works when you make the call.
See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Debunking the lies your uncle saw on Facebook. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today on Live, local and progressive, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls for the first half of the show, then talking to Chris Simmons, host of the Stories from the States podcast. Rick Smith, host of the Rick Smith Show, weekdays 5 to 6 a.m. here on WCPT. That's live, local, and progressive, weekdays 2 to 5. Joan Esposito here on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. Driving in home tonight, Patty Vasquez will be joined by guest co-host Arad Boxenbaum, Gen Z activist, community organizer, and former Democratic candidate for Illinois House of Representatives. And their guests include Julia Metallo, alderperson for Kenosha's District 15. That's Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7, here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website. Tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. And tomorrow, it's Saturday, and it's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, who will be talking to Victor Ray, University of Iowa Associate Professor, Ahmad Baba, independent journalist who's been here on Choose Views, Dan Freeman, senior reporter, Mother Jones, D.C. Bureau, and, of course, Dean Baker, senior economist at the Center for Economic and Policy Research. It's the Democracy Stupid, Saturdays from 1 to 4 here on WCPT. Next week on Choose Views, my guests include everybody from Anderson Clayton, chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party, comedian and commentator John Fugelsang, of course, author, and Brian Lamech, Defend the Vote, legal analyst, podcaster, author Barbara McQuaid, our own mayor, Brandon Johnson, plus our show regulars, Kurt Mullett, and that person, Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast, who's about to hang out with us by phone this morning. Good morning, Karen, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. Thanks for having me, as always, on this beautiful sunny day in Chicago.
I know. It was gorgeous. When I was driving in, I was like, oh, look at the sunset. And the sunset coming from the east over the city skyline is just magical. I think anybody knows that, no matter where you live in the world, if you've seen that sunrise, I should say, thank you, brain, that sunrise from the east. I said,
I know what you meant.
Oh my gosh.
It's early.
Yeah. But it's not too early to read Karen's great Substack, Resistance Journal. Most recently, Karen really put it down. Christian nationalism in the GOP. It's like flies to honey. And I'm going to say it unapologetically, based on what we know. Those of us who were raised in Christianity or raised in Judaism or raised in the Muslim faith or Buddha, whatever. There's a certain point where you've got to call out the people that are head faking inside of a religion or using religion as a cover for garbage lifestyle. And that's what many of these Christian nationalists are doing. Talk a little bit about your bit that you had on Substack in this space.
So my Substack now, primarily, I like to do the writing, but Anita, my podcast partner, and I have been doing a daily video cast on our YouTube channel, TruBlu Politics Podcast. So we would love for people to head over there and like and subscribe and check those out. But yes, that was a part of the segment that we did yesterday, just talking about the primarily white Christian nationalist movement in this country, and particularly down in Texas, where Ken Paxton is going to be running against a real Christian, James Tallarico, for the Senate seat that Cornyn is not going to have because he FO'd. And so he is going to. So Ken Paxton, he is a self-professed Christian nationalist, and we talk about how really the Republican Party has been headed in this direction for decades. So it's just, and you're asking the question about which Republican you want to see gone other than Donald Trump, and I just and I heard Andrea's wonderful suggestion, and I agree 100%. But yes, it is every single one of them, and the fact that Johnson, I don't know as though Johnson is any worse than Kevin McCarthy or John Boehner or who is the other idiot? Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan. Yeah, because all of them stopped good legislation from being passed. And many of them stopped all of them stopped good legislation from being presented on the House floor. The difference I find with Johnson, as Andrea rightfully pointed out, is his hypocrisy, he is a heretic, a charlatan. He stands up there and professes to be a Christian, and yet openly does the bidding of the most unchristian political figure that we have ever had in our nation's history, Donald Trump. Yep. And he's doing it out in the open and shamelessly. The other ones had enough political savvy to, kind of, dog whistle it and kind of keep it on the down low, Donald Trump, and because we have the Supreme Court that we have, because we have, the House of Representatives we have and the Senate that we have, because people do not understand that elections have consequences in this country. Here we are. And now we have somebody who is absolutely shamelessly doing it and claiming to be a Christian. And it is absolutely egregious and insulting to anybody that is an actual Christian.
Yeah, I mean, if the Christian nationalist movement, if it's really about the things that it says it should be about, then one of the categories in our society that's the least among us are our children. And I don't mean that in terms of their economic situation, because children aren't really, they're part and parcel of the economics of their parents and their family. But the one thing that we all, I think, say we should be willing to do without blinking an eye is to make sure that our children are protected, because we were all children at one point. We were all a child at some point. And, you know, when I see this and I think about this in relationship to the Epstein files and how these so-called fake A Christians are running around pretending to be all Christian-y, but they won't push really hard at this point on, and Mike Johnson, I can see why so many people said that Mike Johnson's a person they want to be the next Republican politician to be gone. But this is an area, this is why this thing with Pam Bondi is not necessarily going to go away, because of the way in which she handled these files. And you heard me say earlier that more than 100 judges and lawyers have and law professors. If there's anybody that I trust with the law is a law professor, for the most part, because you know they know it and they have to teach it, and when we teach, we learn, I believe. But to that end, Karen, this Pam Bondi being hit with an ethics complaint that was signed by more than 100 lawyers, judges, and law professors says a lot, because it specifically gets into the area of how she handled the evidence. Which says, so here's the thing. How she handled the evidence is one thing, but it says that there's evidence, that there are files, and that Republicans keep denying or trying to forget, and particularly those who are the, quote, Christian nationalists, back to your article, want to try to forget like this existed, that this happened. Talk to us for a second. What are your thoughts there? How did that move you?
Well, it happened, and, you know, I guess we can say that there was a bipartisan, you know, push to have this, you know, the Transparency Act signed into law. Donald Trump signed it into law, and now every step of the way, you know, Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche have been actively working to keep that information from the American public, but while simultaneously, you know, exposing all of these survivors and the victims' information. So it is, I mean, it's one of those things where you're just like, I can't believe that we're having to deal with this and that these people are walking around and with no consequences yet. But I'm going to say yet. It is important. I don't have any faith in anything is really, truly going to be done right now in terms of that. But the reality of the situation is it is so very important for these things to happen, to set the stage for when we take back the levers of power and when we have a Department of Justice that is actually working to protect the American public and not the President of the United States, when we have an Attorney General who is not acting as the personal attorney of Donald Trump to protect Donald Trump and his ilk.
Yeah.
Then there will be accountability, and people and Democrats, when we take this back, when we give this to the Democrats in such numbers that they can get rid of the filibuster, that they can work to get rid of the Electoral College, Citizens United, all of these things that we need to have happen, this is all going to tie into that piece, you know, to all of the work that needs to be done and will be done if we talk to every single person that we know, and if we get everybody out in the midterms and then in 2028 to elect Democrats. That's how we take this back. So if you're feeling hopeless right now and frustrated, as I am when I have to have all of this stuff coming at me every single day, I just want to be able to live my life just like everybody else and go about my day to day and deal with the normal challenges of life, right? And have celebrations where you can be truly joyful without this nagging thing right there hanging every second of every day. So we can do this, and I guess it's just It's all great news that people are doing things, that the courts are doing things, that there are, people within the legal system that are filing these complaints against her, because it needs to happen, because only if that happens can we actually have true accountability when we take back the levers of power.
And since you're not new around here, we have to take a break right now. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard True. We're talking with our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moretlawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
Hi, friends. This is Jason Bissell from the Center for Acupuncture in Wilmette and Chicago Community Acupuncture.
Chico Maku.
We have fun with these ads, but what I'd like to talk about today is no fun. Cancer. After watching my mother battle and eventually lose her fight to cancer when she was 40 and I was 9, I decided to go into medicine. Acupuncture is very effective at helping people go through cancer treatments with less side effects and better outcomes. My father needed 8 weeks of radiation for his throat. His doctors told him that after 2 weeks he would lose his voice, after 4 weeks he'd be on soft food, and after 6 weeks he'd need a liquid diet. Well, he got acupuncture twice a week, he never needed soft food, never went on a liquid diet, he just got a little hoarse. This improved his quality of life and his mood. For everyone fighting cancer out there, I can help. Go to ChiComAcu.com or CenterForAcu.com in Wilmette, ChicoMacu.com or CenterForAcu.com, and be well.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
No fake news here. It's Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chew. This is Choose Views, and we're talking with our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. Hey, Karen, many people feel that what Hawaii did, if you recall, you may have heard me talk about earlier in the week, that they just declared war on Citizens United.
Yes.
And I thought that was pretty sweet. And I think that more states, more blue, in fact, every blue state should take a page out of the book from the state of Hawaii. I know it's different politics in each state, but boy, was that something else.
I heard that roughly 25 states have that in the hopper, similar pieces of legislation. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm here for it. Let's go. This is how we fight. We have to find those little carve-outs. They are so good at finding little loopholes and, putting poison pills and stuff. Let's go, Democrats. Let's do it.
Let's do the same thing. They let's not let that be a one-off or something that, because this is where I say the way that we fight doesn't have to be, not say it doesn't have to be in the big things, but it doesn't have to be in a way where it's always a complicated thing. Something like this is actually, in some states, a fairly easy thing to do. So kudos to the folks in Hawaii, the legislators and the governor. I think it's Josh Green that was the one. Josh Green is the one that said, let's move forward on this. I think it's a powerful tool.
Yeah, let's get Absolutely. Let's get the big money, the dark money out of our political system. I think that, it would have majority support amongst the American people. I think people are sick and tired of, all of the money. And I mean, we are, during COVID, it started to be really revealed, just the wealth gap in this country between the haves and the have-nots. And it's just getting, more so and so obvious with all of the high costs of everything. Gas, groceries, just everything, just the daily life. People are really having a hard time making ends meet. So when you bring these types of pieces of legislation up, I think you will get absolute majority support in most states to get rid of Citizens United. It is a cancer to our political system and to our democracy.
And it also, I think, would show that we have more power than the Supreme Court 6. That's what I'm trying to call them now. It's the Supreme Court 6. By doing some state stuff. If we're going to put it back to the states. Karen, we're tight on time because I want to try to squeeze in a call before we go to break.
Busy boy.
But I got to ask.
I got you.
I got to ask you this question real quick before I let you go.
Okay.
What do you think about Donnie's health? I mean, from these visits to Walter Reed and these sudden stopping everything and then making a visit to Walter Reed. He's been there in the past 6 months with 3 or 4 times, something like that. And and then it just
for his annual checkup.
Yeah, you almost said the wrong
every
word
3
there.
months. Yeah.
But did you see this video that's floating around of him? I sent it to you. I shouldn't say, have you seen it? Because you're the first person I thought of. I got to send this to a bad person, a person with a bad, mean heart that won't laugh at things like this because they think it's unchristian to do. But I sent it to you right out of the gate when I saw it. Wow. Was that disgusting?
We're talking about the flatulence.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey,
yes.
I mean, you know what? That's all natural. That is God's work, right there. So.
But the way the look on his face.
Yeah, I'm here for any humiliation that at the expense of Donald Trump. Any humiliation, any embarrassment that he is, has to live through. I'm there for it. And as far as his health, I mean, I know a lot of people have been predicting and giving, putting a time limit on his breast, but I just don't. It's just I just know that we just have to stay focused on what we are dealing with right now. And, one of these days, the obituaries is going to give a lot of people reason to celebrate. And that's all I'm going to say.
That in and of itself is quite a bit. So, Karen, it's great to hang with you as always. Looking forward to seeing you back in the studio next week, hopefully. But in the meantime, take care of family. I know you got some things going on today. And
thank you, Richard.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend. Stay safe in your travels. And we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay. Love to all of you guys.
All right. Talk to you
later.
soon. Yep. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Hey, guys, let's see if we can squeeze in a quick call. Thanks to Karen for hanging out with us this morning. She's got some things she's taking care of, so she's a little bit on the road today, so we figured we'd have her call in. Let's see if we can grab this quick call from Mike. Is it in Brownsville? Brownsville or Brownsville? Hey, Mike.
Brownsville. Hi, how are you?
Good. We want to try to squeeze you. We want to try to squeeze you in real quick before we go to break. What's going on?
Yeah, I saw Trump coming from the Dayton area, but I have a feeling that there's something else going on here. The man's almost 80. He's walking really bad. He's falling asleep. We got some issues, and I wouldn't be a big surprise if he doesn't finish out his term. That the young guy, JD, who, if you've ever read Hillbilly, as far as effigy.
Yeah, effigy, yeah.
He really is. And whatever, the midterms, we got to deal with these midterms, because if we don't deal with these midterms, the Republicans are going to feel that they're able to do what they want, when they want, and how I want. how they want. And Cleo feels is absolutely correct. It's a shame that 1/3 of the population that came here not as citizens or wanting to be citizens, but we're the only group that was forced to come here. Yep. And we were, quite frankly, just like the oxen and the plow. So for them to gut the Civil Rights Act, specifically the Voting Rights Act, as far as I'm concerned, Section 2, that's an act of war. So I look forward to this summer. And I'm a 68-year-old man on a chain, an openly black gay man, and I'm going to be marching. And if I can march, every living soul should be marching. In not only this city, but all over this nation. This is history repeating itself. You just have to know the history.
That's the one.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Michael. Have a good weekend and stay safe. Thanks for the call. Listen, guys, I asked a question earlier about who do you want to see go in the Republican Party. Here are a couple of Facebook. Jim Jordan. Yeah, that's a good one from Jeff. Sean says, let's see, the Trump-pocalypse, the Four Horsemen, Stephen Miller, Russell Vogt, Pete Kegbreath Hegseth, and Todd Blanche. That comes from Sean Pierce. Yes, I agree. They should be gone. Gone. Throw them out with the trash. Who else we got? Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Joni Ernst. Wow. See, we just have smart people. Yeah, you forget the names. So what that tells me is this, kind of what, leaning back to what Michael just said in part, and certainly to some extent what others have said this morning, they all need to go. See, that's the thing. Karen made a great point about we have to fight. We have to get out and fight. We got so much artillery, so many tools to use to oust the entire Republican Party congressional leaders, both on the House and the Senate side. Let's get rid of all of them. My late father-in-law used to say, let's kick all the bums out. That's what we have an opportunity to do, guys. So let's take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu, and when we come back, talking about history, we will be talking with Professor Kevin Schultz, the author of Why Everyone Hates White Liberals, Including White Liberals. And we're going to talk about the history of voting and other things in our country. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Billy, your gas light's on. We need to stop and fill up.
No way, Jen. Gas around here is too expensive. We can make it a little further.
Billy, listen to your big sister. You don't need to drive all over searching for the lowest gas prices. Do what I do and use Upside.
Upside?
Do you live under a rock, Billy? Upside is the hottest cashback app out there. It's free to download, and you get real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. I use it all the time, and I've already made around $200.
You can make that kind of cash back just for buying the gas you have to buy anyway?
Yes, I'm looking at the Upside app now, and there's a gas station at the next exit offering 25 cents per gallon cash back.
Okay, I'm stopping to download Upside and fill up my tank. Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GRAVY25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GRAVY25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code GRAVY25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
For the longest time, it was hard for me to even get out of the house, much less do a backside 180. That's when I made the call. With my doctor's help, I was diagnosed with anxiety. Now I'm finding better ways to cope. Sure, some days are better than others, but the whole thing about getting out of the house, that's not really an issue anymore. Mental health care works when you make the call.
See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT Willow Springs, is powered by ComEd. Visit ComEd.com/facility assessment to learn more about energy savings.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunnier for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low near 57. By Saturday, partial sunshine develops a high around 75 degrees. And Sunday, partial sunshine, a high around 78. Monday, sunny high of 81 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 57.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
We may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. If you are just tuning in, this is Choose Views, and I'm Richard Chu. Great to have a conversation with our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast, Cleo Davis, who is our representative down in Louisiana. I say our representative, but he's one of the congressional leaders down in Louisiana. Cleo, it was nice to have him with us this morning. And Mayor John Laesch, who is the mayor of Aurora, Illinois. As we wrap up today, professors are some of my favorite people. They keep us focused. They bring us good stuff, good information. And if you're paying attention, you might learn a few things every now and again. Professor Kevin Schultz is the author of the bestseller, Why Everyone Hates White Liberals, Including White Liberals. And I've said this a whole bunch of times. Even me saying that, it makes me laugh only because I have had so many conversations with so many people that are like, yeah, Chu, at least Professor said it. I mean, it is kind of out there. So good morning, Professor Schultz, and welcome back to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. And the book just came out in audiobook format, and it's really funny to hear the sort of the voice that they picked to read the book say all these lines about why everyone hates white liberals throughout the book, because he's a very serious guy and he's got a very stern tone, and he's telling all these stories about why everybody hates white liberals, including white liberals, of course. So it's been a pretty fun release to listen to.
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, Representative Cleo Fields, who was with us earlier for a bit, you know, he's down in Louisiana dealing with something that you definitely have leaned into and for a while. When it comes to this conversation around the erosion of voting rights. This didn't start last week, y'all, or 2 weeks ago or a month ago. This is, again, one of those things that you and I have talked about this in different ways, that it's been happening for a while. So it's part of our history. I mean, let's roll the clock back, because in the short amount of time we have this morning, Professor, let's roll the clock back to 64 and 65. But how about if we go back even prior to that and look at post-World War II and the disenfranchisement that took place? We're still in the middle of Jim Crow. We're fighting a world war. And, you know, folks that look like me and some that look like you and have your heritage were basically said, yeah, we want y'all's energy to fight this war, but once it's over with, we don't give a damn about you. So this history of disenfranchisement is nothing new. It's been going on for since things have been going on. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, Richard, one of the things that has been a theme in my monthly visits to your marvelous radio show has been, you know, democracy is a verb. It's something that we have to fight for. And I want to say, and I tell my students this, that the push for voting rights to increase access to the ballot has been fundamental to the whole history of the United States and to the creed that we live up to, that all men are created equal, which I would, you know, expand to all humans are created equal. Let's blow that up.
Yep.
And I think that is the spirit that our country was founded in. So if you go back even farther before the 1960s, or even to before World War II, if you go back to the founding of this country in the late 1700s, voting rights were really only extended. I mean, first off, voting rights were sort of a novel concept.
Right.
But even in the right, there used to be
it wasn't even a thing, really, voting rights. It was just that only certain people did it, which gave sort of pass or cover that only certain people were allowed to do it. So sorry about that.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, and it used to be that people weren't even allowed to do it. You know, all the power was in the crown, the royal line, or however it was in your particular empire or country, however it was disseminated. So the actual invention of the notion that people have a say in who governs them, and they can throw those people out with a simple act of going to a ballot booth and voting something, is actually fairly novel. It's one of the key inventions of the American Revolution, the French Revolution that came after it, the Haitian Revolution, all these revolutions in this era of revolutions. But even in that early period, we need to remember that the vote was restricted just to white property holders. Yeah. So relatively well-to-do white men were the only people that had access to the vote. And ever since then, it's been a fight to expand the circle of those that were included in our democratic process, the very fundamental democratic process of voting. First, there were some attempts in the state constitutions immediately after the American Revolution and the U.S. Constitution was passed to allow actually black men and black women and women to vote. Some of those in Pennsylvania and New Jersey especially happened in the late 1700s. They were curtailed in the early 1800s. They were sort of fought over and battled over. And then very quickly the property restrictions were taken away. So in this really interesting moment of state constitutions in the early 1800s, voting rights were taken away from women and from many black voters, but given to many white people, white men, regardless of the property that they held. And ever since then, it's been a battle to increase from there to there to there. We might remember the age of Jackson or Jacksonian democracy, hearkening back to Andrew Jackson. And what that was the triumph of white voters who didn't have property. So this was actually an expansion of democracy. Then there are all these fights to include first black men after the Civil War in the era of Reconstruction, which is quickly curtailed by state Jim Crow laws, which you made reference to in the Reconstruction era. Then women finally got the vote in 1920 after a constitutional amendment passed. And then we get to that period that you were talking about, which was the further expansion of voting rights in the 1940s, 50s, and eventually, of course, the 1960s, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Ever since then, it's been sort of this push to continue to expand access to the ballot for an increasing number of Americans. And one thing that we need to remember, well, two things I'll say, is that each of these just didn't happen. Each of these expansions happened because people became active and they voiced their opinion and they fought for this increased expansion of rights. And the second thing that I'll say is every time those pushes happened, there was a counter push of people who felt threatened by this expansion. So voting rights are not something that were ever just sort of naturally given to people, whatever that would mean. They were something that had to be fought for, that people marched for. And some of the stories of people fighting for these are really, truly historically fascinating. And we all know the story, or many of us, most of us hopefully know the story of the civil rights activists in the 1960s. But one story that I really like to harken back to is after the Civil War, during the period we call Reconstruction, when the United States was reconstructed and the North and the South were trying to come back together. Black voters in the South would come together weeks before an election and they would do practice votes. Yep. They would dress in their Sunday best. They would look in their most dignified ways. They would meet in certain neighborhoods where they lived, and they would march collectively, waving American flags, saying, "We're here to vote." They would demonstrate what it looked like to vote. They wouldn't vote. It wasn't election day, but they just wanted to put on a performance of what democracy looked like. And then when the election happened, they were all ready to go. They all knew what it looked like. And it was this great pageant of democracy. Eventually, of course, these marches were made illegal, and then they were met with violence on Election Day. This is sort of the story of American democracy, the fight for the story of American democracy. Or if you look at women pushing for the access to vote, they were imprisoned for political disruption. They were imprisoned for marching in front of the White House, for hanging banners from the halls of Congress demanding that women have access to vote. When they were imprisoned, they went on hunger strikes. They went on all sorts of, they performed all sorts of public disobedience in order to push the the message that women deserve to have access to the ballot as well. So I want to say these are things that we need to continue to fight for. There's a long history of us Americans fighting to expand our access to the ballot, and there's a long history of people pushing back against it. I know me and a lot of my friends think, oh my goodness, this is the end of the world. This is something that, all of a sudden our democracy is being taken away from us. A funny story, I was talking to a bunch of white liberals, I'll say, at a book talk the other day. And some people say, is there ever a history of a time in our history when people have been taking away our access to the vote? And there were some black people in the audience, and they sort of raised their hands slowly and said, yes, there was definitely many times in American history when people have been taking away access to the vote. And it was just this fundamental display of white privilege. So in a way, though,
by the nature of the question itself, not even the answer to it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but this put on fundamental display that voting rights have always been contested. And if this feels like the end of the world, it is certainly something we need to be alarmed about, but something our historical ancestors have already fought for. And we just need to model ourselves after their fight. But I do think this is something that we as Americans do need to take very seriously, this fight for democracy. And you and I have talked about how the Trump administration has kind of been a game of whack-a-mole on what you pay attention to, because there's something going on in Iran, there's something going on with inflation, there's tariffs over here, there's the weaponizing of the Department of Justice, there's the firing of this person, there's the attack on E. Jean Carroll, there's all sorts of things that we can sort of focus on. But I think focusing on our voting rights and the fundamental tenets of our democracy is the one that we right now need to be laser focused on, and we need to be ready to fight for.
Professor Schultz, I appreciate you saying that, all that you said, certainly, and the last piece, because the morning after the decision from the Supreme Court on Calais, I said my version of that. I said, listen, y'all, we're fighting on all these different fronts for all these things, affordability, accountability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I said, but at its core, the thing that actually binds us even more than economics, and I said, listen, y'all, don't get your undies in a bundle for me saying this. Women's issues, any of the issues that we have, at the core, the thing, the nexus point is our ability to vote on what's right for our democracy. And the reason I said it that way is, and I said it because I said, I want Republicans and MAGA to hear this too. Your ability to have the thing that you have right now, which many of you have disdain for, which is a promise and many promises not kept by this current president, that happened because you had the right to vote for it. Even as a Republican that I may disagree with 1,000% on that vote, the fact that you had the right to do it is at its core what binds us probably more than the blood that runs through our veins. And that's why I appreciate you saying it from a professorial standpoint, but that is the thing that we all have to protect this. And for people to, on the right, think that we should gerrymander and do these things that we're doing, like in Louisiana and so many other places, it says, and this sometimes I'm careful in how I say this, but I know I'm being honest. I'm asking that white women in America really look at this, because Professor just said that one of the key groups that was impacted by the right to vote were white women, because you haven't had the right to vote necessarily that long either. So when I see that, I think we all have this connective tissue, black folks, white folks, and all of our other communities. And all of our other marginalized communities have a responsibility to take voting seriously, because you don't know when they're going to come for you and snatch your ability to vote because you don't fit the narrative. And the narrative once was white male property owners. And guess what? There are things that are going on behind the curtain, Professor Schultz, you know this as well as I do, that are impacting who can be the owners of property, and then what is the definition of property. So I hope folks are paying attention. Professor Schultz, we're going to take a quick break. I know you got something to say about it, but let's hold it till after we come back from the break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We are talking with Professor Kevin Schultz, the author of best-selling book, Why Everyone Hates White Liberals, Including White Liberals. And we'll be right back.
Save big on landscaping projects at Menards. Transform your outdoor living space with easy, no-cut block projects. From fire pits and grill stations to planters and fountains. We offer hundreds of free project plans that are easy to build with no block cutting required. Easily make a raised garden bed using our garden blocks. On sale now through May 31st. Check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Cancer affects all of us. Today alone, 5,370 people in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer. That's why Stand Up to Cancer funds and develops the newest and most promising cancer treatments to help patients today. Stand Up to Cancer wants to provide you with every opportunity to join in this mission. By donating your home, land, or commercial property, you can help Stand Up to Cancer fund innovative cancer research. Donating eases the stress associated with selling a home and can also help lead to the next breakthrough in cancer prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. Stand Up to Cancer makes the process easy, and it may be tax deductible. It will take all of us standing up together to put an end to cancer as we know it. Help us save lives right now. Your home or property could hold the key to the next breakthrough in cancer research. Visit standuptocancer.org/giveproperty to learn more.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Take it away, Richard.
Guys, welcome back to the show. We are talking with Professor Kevin Schultz. Dr. Schultz, talk to us a little bit about something that I think is critically important right now. When we look at how historical collapses have taken place, we could lean into things like the Weimar Republic and the fact that we don't have, or what's happened of late is we've recognized that norms not written into law, norms not written into a structure where they're part of our Constitution, they're part of our state constitutions, are easily manipulated by those who have, desires to oppress and do all kinds of things to separate people. What are some of your thoughts here about us being more aggressive in writing some of the things that we believe in into the law so that they're not just norms or the ways in which we've done things, but the way that we have to do things going forward?
Yeah, I think one of the shocking things about the presidencies of Donald Trump is how he has really just knocked down norms in our sort of entire world, not just our politics and our political world, where, we've got an MMA fight happening on the front lawn of the White House, framing the White House perfectly. We've got the destruction zone, so he can build his glamorous ballroom, which is currently, a destruction zone while it's being held up. Look, I'm sort of, in some ways, I study historical norms and patterns, and, the book that we keep talking about, thank you for helping promote it, is how the norms of what liberalism mean have changed over time, and how the Democratic Party has meant different things by what a liberal is and who a liberal is. So I'm sensitive to the fact that norms are always changing. And when they change, sometimes when they open up democracy and give access to people that were not included, these norms change and people see it as sort of something more ruthless or uncivilized, to use a 19th century way of framing it. And in fact, what that is just opening up the democracy to new groups.
Right.
But what I think we're seeing here now is not necessarily that kind of thing, but we are seeing sort of a vulgarization of the democratic process in Trump 2.0. A game a lot of us historians have tried to play is, what is the political philosophy of Donald Trump's administration? So, the Republican Party has been in a battle among itself for 50 years between libertarians who want a small government and low taxes, and they don't want the government to get in the way of giant corporations doing what it is that giant corporations do. That was one faction. And the other major faction was the religious right, the moral majority, that wanted the government to intervene in order to bring about so-called family values and to institute certain laws that might pay, say, for instance, women to stay at home when they become mothers and things like that. But that had to do with the premise of a larger government. And the Republican Party hasn't been either one of those. It's been sort of giving to both. So we've got smaller government, and we've got greater social services spent on militarization and unpopular social programs. And so what that's led to is a huge inflation of the debt. That's why the debt has gone up. And so we were sort of trying to figure out as historians what Trump was trying to do. And it turns out it's just a mafioso. It's just a kleptocracy. And I think that's the increasing consensus, is there is no political philosophy other than self-enrichment and to worry about your friends. It's sort of like watching, the Godfather series, except you can't really be sympathetic to the Godfather because there isn't a kind heart at the center of it, like there was in the Mario Puzo book.
Yeah.
So this is sort of what we're seeing. Now, we've had corruption. We've had scandals in the United States at the highest level before. We had Richard Nixon resign. We had even more blatant corruption in the aftermath of the Civil War, when bribes were actually and openly being given on the House of Congress. The floor of Congress.
Yeah.
And the vice president of the United States was a recipient of this bribe in the Credit Mobilier Union Pacific Railroad scandal of 1872, 1873. So we've been here before, and all of these have been met with sort of eras of reform.
Yeah.
Right?
Opposition and then years of reform. Yes, sorry.
Exactly. And one of the things I think that we're seeing, and you know me, I'm a hopeful guy. I'm looking for the silver linings here. One of the things that I've been watching, especially in the last, 2 or 3 months, let's say that, is that the Republican Party has increasingly been losing what we'll call traditional Republicans who are not hardcore MAGA folks.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been, this destruction of norms that you brought up at the very beginning has led them to increasingly flee or be uncomfortable within the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And the last 2 primary elections that we've seen in Texas, most recently earlier this week, we saw the sort of traditional Republican candidate, somebody who'd been elected many times, get tossed out for an incredibly flawed candidate, Paxton, who has this extensive criminal record. But he's Donald Trump's choice. So the Republican Party has lost any backbone, which is something we've known for years.
Right.
But not only has it lost a backbone, excuse me, it's increasingly become sort of focused on the MAGA contingency only. And what that's done is it's forced those sort of traditional Republicans to flee the Republican Party.
Yep.
So I think we've seen this sort of 20 to 25% of American voters being MAGA. That's it. That's all the Republican Party is at this point. They've lost the sort of neutral, centrist, non-MAGA Republican voter. And those people are up for grabs right now.
Yep.
And one of the magical things that happens with gerrymandering is instead of having districts where it's 80-20, you have a lot of districts where it's 60-40. Every single district in Louisiana is going to be 60-40. And if there is a blue wave, if Democrats do rise up, that means there's a lot more competitive seats than historically there had been.
Yep.
So if your listeners, our listeners, go out and vote, if they go fight, if they go try and prevent election denierism from actually becoming the voice of logic, if they do volunteer as poll workers, as election workers, they get paid their $200 to spend a day making sure the elections are safe and secure. And if we do have this blue wave that I think we might see in November, we might actually get a vocal House of Representatives and a vocal Senate, which can start to push back against the kleptocracy that we've seen being built on the right.
And to formulate something that says the norms do have some foundation. Now let's turn them into something that's written that we can work on. Let me talk about an optimistic part of where we are today and then tie it to history. in an area that you and I both are brothers on, and that's music. And recently, Bruce Springsteen has made it loud and clear, loud and proud, unapologetically. He's going to say what he has to say in the context of the American promise. And I'm going to throw some names out to you that have done their part over time, historically. Woody Guthrie, Mahalia Jackson, Louis Armstrong, Marvin Gaye, and now Bruce Springsteen have all, at some point during one of their shows, have said something to the audience about, and there's many others, so I don't want to frustrate anybody that thinks I left anybody out, but these are ones that came to mind this morning, and I was thinking about this with you. Historically, artists have always said, no, we're better than, if we say we're better than this, then let's show that we are better than this. And these are some names that just come to mind. What are your thoughts about what Springsteen's been saying and doing recently as we wrap up today?
Look, I'll just say the more people that speak out and openly about the erosion of democracy that we're seeing, the better. I think, these people Bruce Springsteen is a legend and he doesn't need to worry about his reputation.
Right.
But it is so politicized that there are, sort of blind viewers out there who will all of a sudden no longer be a fan of Bruce Springsteen. Well, Bruce Springsteen doesn't care.
He's going to be all right.
He's going to be all right. But I have respect for him using that microphone to actually put into practice the erosion of democracy. I know that people get tired when celebrities come out in political ways, but I actually think that's good. Use your microphone to push for certain ways, and you're going to take those kinds of risks.
Yeah.
It's been interesting on the right, watching someone as famous as Sydney Sweeney be politicized by the right. Yeah. She herself has remained very, very quiet, so I'm not going to cast any aspersion on Sydney Sweeney because she hasn't owned up to anything. She hasn't done what Bruce Springsteen is. She's letting the narrative play out.
Right.
But the right is so desperate to have somebody like Bruce Springsteen speak on their behalf. And I think one of the things that we're seeing is the right really only has this very narrow audience of folks who are going to be their spokesperson.
Yep.
The MMA is huge, but it's interesting that it's the MMA and not the NFL or whatever that is on the lawn of the White House. Right?
Yeah.
So I love music, and I think that there needs to be a poetry of a counter response. There needs to be a vocal way in which this generation has its own, we shall overcome kind of language, right?
Yeah.
I think that's necessary, and I think it's coming. I think we will begin to see some of that stuff.
Without a doubt. Professor Kevin Schultz, author of the best-selling book, Why Everyone Hates White Liberals, including white liberals. But I got to say, this is my brother in crime, and I'm so thankful and honored to have you on the show, Professor Schultz. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Stay safe. We'll talk to you again in a few weeks, okay?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye now. All right, guys, thank you all for a great week. I'm so thankful and humbled by the way in which you guys hang with us. Continue to listen to all of our shows and follow all of our hosts and so forth. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. Make sure to check in with all of our folks this weekend and the shows that we have here on WCPT. Remember, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and a drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
Amazon Business. Discover smart business buying, where unmatched selection meets AI-driven tools to simplify complex processes, so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. U.S. and Iranian negotiators reached a tentative agreement to extend the ceasefire by 60 days. A U.S. official also told the AP there will be new talks on Iran's nuclear program. Speaking to reporters last night, Vice President J.D. Vance said special issues still need to be worked out.
There are a lot of details to work out, but what I mean is I think we're making progress. We're getting to a point where we can potentially sit down and settle these issues, but that requires us to make a little bit more progress. I can't guarantee that we're going to get there, but right now I feel pretty good about it.
Iran did not immediately confirm any deal. Vance confirmed there was a tentative agreement, but said it's unclear if President Trump will approve it. A Russian drone that was part of an overnight attack on Ukraine crashed into an apartment building in eastern Romania, injuring 2 people.
The Russian drone was tracked by radar in Romanian airspace and crashed onto the roof of a building in Galati, Romania's defense ministry said in a statement. The impact followed by a fire. 2 people suffered minor injuries and several others were evacuated. In response to the crash, NATO member Romania is asking the alliance for a faster transfer of anti-drone capabilities to its military, calling the drone's flight a serious violation of international law and the worst incident to hit national territory since Russia invaded Ukraine. While Romania has confirmed drone fragments on its territory on multiple occasions since the war started, no one has previously been hurt in any of the incidents. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Oil prices fell and markets inched higher before the opening bell today. 14-year-old Shrey Parikh is this year's National Spelling Bee champion, winning in a lightning round tiebreaker. His final tally, 32 words spelled correctly in 90 seconds. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. Victor Wembanyama's 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks helped the Spurs force a Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals with a 118-91 rout of the Thunder.
We did what we needed to do. Trusted the game, trusted the basketball gods.
Knicks center Mitchell Robinson has a broken right pinky finger, and there is no timetable for his return, per AP source. Federal prosecutors have indicted ex-Heat guard Terry Rozier on additional charges related to a sports gambling sting. In tennis, top-ranked Jannik Sinner is out at the French Open in a second-round stunner. He reached a third-set match point before succumbing to heat and injury. In hockey, Canada beat the U.S. 4-0 to advance to the semifinals of the Hockey World Championships, and 4-time Stanley Cup champion Claude Lemieux has died after taking his own life. He was 60. Gethin Coolbaugh, AP Sports.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunnier for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low near 57. By Saturday, partial sunshine develops a high around 75 degrees. And Sunday, partial sunshine, a high around 78. Monday, sunny high of 81 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 63.
Chicago's Progressive Talk WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Find rebates and discounts on energy-efficient products at ComEd.com/home savings.
Summer would feel better in a Porsche. Find yours today at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Browse and test drive our extensive selection, like the 2026 Porsche Macan Electric. Right now, lease the 2026 Macan Electric for only $1049 a month for 39 months. Discover performance like no other when you visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. $9,999 due signing for qualified buyers. Excludes tax, title, license, and dealer fee. No security deposit required. Expires 6/1/26.
That's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd, powering lives.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, These entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.